There. It's being recorded now. So it'll send an email when it's done, and it can be saved and done whatever, and great. Taken care of.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that.
Okay, we're in business.
We're up and running, and now I'm legal. Street legal. Okay. First, we have open forum. Who's brought questions? Dennis had a question. He's playing with Chromebook and Zoom.
Well, Wayne had the answer for me. Once you open the chat window, the controls are way on the top, not on the bottom. So thanks, Wayne.
And that's probably just because of the way Chrome does something.
Well, that's the way it is on the iPad too.
Ah, okay. I know they keep moving some things around, like, what did they do with it? Like, let's see, do they have this? Like, one thing that I wish that they would make a little bit more user-friendly, the spotlight for everyone. Have you ever used that?
Yeah.
How does, what is that and how does it differ from just changing the focus to one person?
Okay, I have spotlighted it, and this is what the default that everyone's going to see.
All right.
When I do a spotlight, okay?
Yeah.
You cannot turn on spotlight unless you have 3 people.
Oh.
You can't do it with 2. You got to do it with 3.
All right.
Yeah.
What did Spotlight do? Did it just make you the speaker in the big window?
It forces whoever you spotlighted to be the main screen, just
Okay.
like I'm sharing or whatever. And that's the default view, and also what gets recorded too.
I have pin and I have speaker view. Pin is if you go to the individual.
We used to use pin before they had spotlight.
Yeah, I
But
think
if spotlight only occurs in the admin.
that's what I was saying about.
Yeah.
Yeah, we as participants will not see it.
Right.
And we cannot remove it.
You cannot remove it. But if you're recording and you're recording something like a church service, you want to focus in on the main window and not the next person who decided to talk. Even though they're not supposed to, they're supposed to all be muted.
Or somebody who coughs or their baby cries.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, you're like, we got a blank screen. What is that? You know? Yeah. So we spotlight when we are recording the service, and then it gets, I'm surprised of all the stuff that we've done. I have one of my church leaders who keeps on posting all of these to Facebook, and I'm waiting for the Facebook gods to become angered and thinking, where is your CCLI number?
Mhm.
Where is all your copyright information? Where's your where is the thing that says you're allowed to stream this content?
If you're talking about YouTube, they don't care as long as it's your own content.
Yeah.
And it's usually pretty obvious if it is. What happens is if the copyright holder sees something, they will file a complaint. I've had it done to me.
One thing that has happened that one of my other church board members, his granddaughter graduation, they were singing the national anthem. Facebook blotted it out in live and replaced it with something else.
Oh.
Now, granted, there may have been an arrangement of the national anthem, but it was still the national anthem, you fools.
It may be owned.
I'm not sure. I think if it's owned by the US government. And last time I checked, I don't see any CCLI numbers when they start singing it in front of a Blackhawks game.
By the way, the US government does not own it. It would be the heirs of Francis Scott Key.
Yeah, but I think the copyright would have long since expired.
You'd be surprised what copyrights haven't expired since all these Disney extensions, the Disney extensions that they got in the Congress.
Disney is losing, I think in the next year, their original copyrights on things like Steamboat Mickey. And given how much the Republicans don't love them right now, it doesn't look like it'll get extended again.
Yeah, that's Steamboat Willie, but yeah. Those things mercifully are beginning to end. The intent in the US Constitution of a copyright was never to have it go forever. It was to have it go for the period of time necessary to get a reasonable profit or to start up a business.
Right.
That was it.
So if the answer to is the Star Spangled Banner copyrighted, since the song was declared the national anthem of the United States, the copyright became public domain to all US citizens and enterprises.
Oh.
However, there's the caveat, mechanical, publishing, and performance rights may still apply.
And this was a performance right. Yeah, there are publishing rights. I believe that's an R copyright. And then there's a P copyright for performance, and there's others.
Yeah. But so far, I have not incurred the wrath of fake book on that, but never can tell. It might just be delayed and we might be banned for 3 years after that. So
yeah, well, Facebook may differ from YouTube. YouTube is pretty quick to tell you one way or the other. Anyway, I'm not sure what all this has to do with Zoom and with our computers.
True. And it's just interesting of stuff that streaming content, when you're recording something and somebody else wants to have fair use of it. I don't think we put any restrictions on our Zoom copied the files. If somebody wanted to view them for educational purposes, I think it's freely given.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting. I used to be on a patent committee, and I would get tons of patent disclosures that on the patent committee, you're expected to pull up prior art and other information. So
right.
Don't waste your time going ahead and trying to send this into a patent lawyer. And there was tons of stuff, this, you've just reinvented the linked list again.
Yep.
There's a lot of prior art out there, and it may not be in the same. There's been some things that we were given a bunch of patents that IBM no longer needed, and they offered them to us. If we wanted them, we could take them over, the maintenance of them. And I looked at some of them and said, these would have not passed our patent committee. There's prior art that would invalidate them. And there was even certain things that we had found that were patented, that the patent office granted a patent on, that we had the same functionality available in a published document. So that would have invalidated as a patent 3 years before it was invented.
Well, this whole business of can you actually patent code has gone back and forth in all different directions.
Yeah, patenting code. Patenting it's an idea. No, it's the instantiation of an idea.
Who knows? Yeah, and it's kind of like when recordings, can you actually sample a piece of musical performance, and then is that patented or is it copyrighted? If you reuse it in a different way.
That's going to drive you crazy if you try and figure out all that.
Yeah. So anyway, what else is going on with people's computers?
Yeah, if you have 2004 or earlier versions of Win 10, you're on the last update. If you do, I suggest you update. Oh, here, Creative Commons org about videos.
When you're talking about putting up videos that anybody can use, Creative Commons is what the wiki folks use, Wikimedia folks. It's an allowable use of video content.
Creative Commons license is not copyleft, but it is the Creative Commons license. It's used sometimes in open source.
Right.
But it's not completely 100% open.
It preserves some limited rights. Which
you just have to preserve the author's name and the information of who originally created it.
By the way, I'm forgetting, with spotlight mode, I believe you can spotlight multiple people. So you can actually have 2 or 3 people spotlighted at the same time. Like if you're doing a panel kind of thing.
Right. I believe, yeah, well, you can do that too. That can be done as well. But you still need at least 3 people before you want to turn on spotlight for the first one.
Yeah.
You
but I'm just saying, I don't
put on spotlight which would be nice, like, hey, let's turn on Spotlight now before the meeting starts so that I don't have to remember to do it after the third person joins.
Yeah, which is a good thing. That's why I had to exit and come back. I didn't have the second screen turned on. There's no way to do that within Zoom. You have to exit and restart it, and then it sees the second screen and goes into two screen mode.
Yeah, I mean, I would start our Zoom session up at church and have one person join, and then I'd be scrambling to get my phone out and join with my phone so I could get the third one, turn on Spotlight, and then log off of my phone, and everything is happy again. It stays on if you have less than 3 people, but you need to have that third person come in before it shows up the first Spotlight.
By the way, the reason why 2 screens you can't turn it on within Zoom is that before Zoom launches, it has to get permission to use each device that it's using.
Yes.
It's a permissions issue.
Yes.
Okay. Good to know. I don't know if you've played with immersive mode. I think immersive mode is cool, but most people don't like it.
I'm not sure if I have any of that capability on this.
It's normally in the upper corner for the host, where you can pick speaker mode or grid. There's usually immersive on there.
Oh yeah, there is immersive.
Yeah. I like immersive, but a lot of people don't.
What does it do?
It puts everybody on a fixed background, takes away all the individual backgrounds. So everybody can be at one long table, for instance. So if you click on it, it'll show you the available.
I see. I'm looking at it. Yes. So you can do this. And then
yeah,
it looks like a rogues gallery.
you can do that. I like the classroom looking one with people at desks across, but they're the different modes of it.
I'm going to have to go back to this because yes, my machine does not have enough horsepower on this particular one to support full immersive mode. I'd have to go and move to one of my other computers, and then that would be fun.
It also takes off people's backgrounds, so to standardize it. However, some backgrounds it doesn't know how to take off. So you'll usually get a couple of people whose backgrounds are still there because it doesn't know how to take it off. In my case, since I'm running OBS, it sees me, but then it sees the stuff next to me. So you notice when you went in immersive, it didn't know how to take that background out. It didn't understand it.
Wow. That was one question I had for other people. I think I still can do this. But anybody else get an ad for MyQ? Or anybody else using MyQ at all?
I don't even know what it is.
It's a garage door opener.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I run it.
They had an offer today. And I'm trying to remember which email account it came through on. I think it was on my Yahoo account. But they offered the camera for $59 or $60. As long as you bought it in the next 2 days or something like that. No, there was something else. Not on.
I've got that MyQ, but that's for my garage doors. I can open and close them.
Well, not mine. It does. It opens and closes my door too. But you can add a camera.
Oh, I
so
see.
that every time it opens and closes, you can see who's there.
Well, I got 3 separate garage doors.
Well, I have a 2 and a 1. But I mean, if the camera's in there, it can see the whole garage. It's
I
a
see.
wide angle type of picture. So.
They have 2 different kinds of MyQs, by the way. They have the MyQ hardware, which is what I have, and they have a plan where you pay for it. If you don't do the paid one, you can't do the Alexa type stuff.
Correct.
You have to have the paid plan to do that one.
Well, I sort of didn't want the paid plan in respect because I don't want to hook up Google or Alexa to it.
No.
Because somebody can come up to your window and say, hey, Alexa, open the garage door. And if Alexa can hear you, or even this, if you have an answering machine and it plays on your thing and somebody says, hey, Alexa, open the garage door, guess what happens? Not exactly your what you would thought you would want. Oh yeah, you might get the alert that says, yeah, somebody just opened your garage door. Because I can open my garage door relatively easy. When I try and shut it remotely is when it gets fun, because it sits there and goes beep, 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 beep for 30 seconds before it
Yeah.
tries to close.
Yeah.
To let everyone know that there's something, if something bad is going to happen. The door is shutting now.
And it flashes the lights in the garage at the same.
Yeah. I'm surprised it doesn't use that classic line from the old Chryslers. The door is ajar. The door is ajar. I thought the door was a door.
You know, you can't use LED light bulbs in your garage door opener thing either.
I'm using one right now. You have to change them a couple different brands until you get one that works.
Yeah.
I do get a little bit of AM broadcast noise on AM radio when I pull the car in the garage. But other than that, it's not objectionable, and it hasn't caused any problems, the door opening or closing.
What kind of bulbs did you say?
LED bulb in a garage door opener. That's Wi-Fi controlled, because some Wi-Fi controlled openers have issues with LED bulbs that make too much noise and then they can't hear Wi-Fi.
I think that's what I actually have in there. I haven't noticed any problems.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had any problem with that. I had trouble during the days of CFL bulbs. Those had issues.
Yeah, CFL bulbs and incandescent bulbs, unless they even have the rough filament, always used to fail way sooner than they needed to in a garage door opener. So I think I'm currently using a Zillotech 100-watt equivalent bulb, which is like about 23 watts, but so it's a lot less than 100-watt incandescent, far in excess of what you normally, but it gives me enough light in the garage when it opens so that I can see something like what I'm going to run over as I pull in. Anybody, I know that I did have some emails about people having to get new machines. He's not on today, but I noticed that he was looking for one, and he asked me, where can I go and get good refurb machines? And I said, well, I've had some positive experience with Tiger Direct in the past, when it was both, I could go into the store and pick them up. And even since they had been sold and I have bought a couple of them mail order from them, I've had pretty good luck with some of the old HP small form factor units with quad core processors. The nice thing about some of the older HP business computers is you usually can open them up and replace just about anything without even needing a screwdriver. So everything can click in place and snap, done. Open this up, fold this open. Oh, look, here's all the cables. Good. Put this new drive in, close it all up. You're ready to go.
As you noticed, I've been doing the emails for Beata because she's been having some difficulty. We investigated and found that she's running a computer on Windows 7 and well, 2010. And that may be the reason why some of the stuff doesn't go through. So we've been thinking about how to deal with it, to upgrade her.
Was she using Outlook?
I'm not sure what she's using.
Okay, because my Outlook for 2007 on Win 7 stopped working completely. It would not read the Outlook.com account. Now, granted, she's using Comcast.net, but I just noticed that things stopped working with that exchange mode. Like, okay.
Well, nothing lasts forever. So we've been trying to see if we can either get somebody to donate a machine that'll be more current with Windows 10, or if we can find a refurbished machine for a nominal price.
Most of, like I said, most of the ones that I picked up from Tiger Direct with an HP small form factor, with an i5, either 4 or 8 gigabytes of memory, and depending on what size hard drive or SSD you wanted to add to it, was right about $200. And what I would do with Tiger Direct is look at something you like, then just don't do anything with it. And if it comes on sale in about a week, Tiger Direct will send you a coupon for 10% off. Put something into your cart, take it out, just dangle it a little bit, and then they'll send you, oh, hey, here's a 10% coupon. Please buy it.
Well,
and it's good
I
for
got,
like a month or something like that. I've usually used that to get like free shipping or something like that. Basically, cut the cost of the tax and shipping.
I guess Tim and Sanford were looking at Egghead and Micro Center to see what's available there too.
Yeah, but like I said, the older business level machines seem to work better. They're much more robust. They run cooler. She has an external monitor already.
I believe so.
Okay, so I mean, as the only question is, what kind of connector does she need to plug into her monitor? Most of the business HPs typically like to use DisplayPort instead of VGA connectors, or they have VGI or VGA, DGI or VGA type of ports available.
And you also have to make sure you can talk to your printer.
Well, the question is, how is the printer interfaced?
I
If it's a
I did.
Centronics printer port, you got a problem.
Tim was investigating in detail with Bellark.
Almost all of my printers that I interface with now are never interfaced with USB, but they're all put on the network, and I access them all via my network. That seems to be the common denominator that has the least path of resistance.
That's what I do.
have problems getting some drivers for Win 10 on my HP 4000N, but other than that, the Brother printer that I have, that's wireless, and I set them up not on their own Wi-Fi connection, but sharing the main Wi-Fi and just having an address, and now they're accessible by every machine I fire up, and it finds it on the network, said, hey, do you want to use this printer too? Sure, click, done. And that way I can scan, I can print color, print black and white, do all those things. But
I do HP printers, but
yeah, I have drawn the line, however, at HP inkjets. I think for the price of inkjet cartridges from HP, they should give you the printer. Just give you a printer, and then you pay for the cartridges. And or when the first set of cartridges were out, just go I want another free printer with free cartridges.
well, when I got my last printer, it was you paid for the printer, but you got 6 months of cartridges.
Okay, that's the gimmick, and the some of the laser printers with the little laser printers, those are a gimmick too. You just get eaten alive by the drum cost and the toner cost. I remember a Panasonic all-in-one black and white laser printer and fax. Worst machine ever. The toner lasted 2,000 pages. The drum lasted 6,000. Ridiculous for something that cost, a couple $100.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
These days they're eliminating the cartridges altogether and using ink tanks.
Yeah, I mean that's that's one way of doing it, the colored ink tank. But if they can do it, in that case though, the print head is the weak item, and then if you ever have to replace a print head, time to toss the printer, because it's like $300 for a print head, and the printer costs you $200.
Yeah, and you have to be somebody who actually does a fair amount of printing for that to be an option.
Yeah, when I picked up my, I have a Brother all-in-one that I picked up at, where was it? Office Depot, and it was back in 2013, and I found it on the end of a shelf, And I was looking for a 11 by 17 bed scanner because I wanted to be able to, if I'm going to buy a scanner, I'm going to make sure I can scan something large and be able to print something large. I can print 11 by 17. I can scan 11 by 17. So that this will do it. And I'm looking at the price, you know, the original price was like $400 or something like that. But it said out of box, $110. And I said, well, do you have the CDs that go to install it? I'll take $10 off. So much for the final price of $110. So I got it, and I looked all over for it in the store. I couldn't find. Is there an Ethernet port in this? Is there, you know, is this only Wi-Fi only? And then when I got it home and I had it, you know, opened up, then there's another thing that opens up like, oh, here's where the USB cable snakes in, and here's an Ethernet port. So I found my hardwired Ethernet port, wired it in, hooked it up, found all the drivers online, all the manuals online, downloaded it. The only thing that I would say that is a issue with it, I have never gotten any software updates since the original one. The other thing is every day around noon, I hear it do something with the print head. It cleans the print head and makes sure it's clean. So it uses up a little bit of ink every day. Have I ever had a problem printing in color? No. Don't have to do the clean print head and the other stuff that I always used to do with the HPs. But with
I also found that some of the older inkjets, they don't have the ink anymore.
yeah, you can't,
You
or you can
can't-
only refill the
can't get it
cartridge if you
anymore.
can find the ink. Yeah.
So that's just sort of obsoletes the old printers because they're not selling the ink cartridges anymore.
They're still selling toner cartridges for HP 4000s. And that rolled off the assembly line in 1998.
Well, and I had something to do with that sort of starting where they started to come down to $2,500.
The nice thing about it, but I found that there's a company in Elk Grove Village, Laser Service, that I've gone through on more than one occasion. I picked up some refurbed HP laser jets, business HP laser jets. So they have the toner cartridge that lasts you about 20,000 copies. They have the drum that's good for 175,000 copies, and fuser. I mean, it just, you know, you just install it and then wait until the paper jams because the wheels wear out, and then you get a wheel set, and then you got to reinstall the new wheel set, and away you go. You print another couple 100,000.
Well, in accounting, laser printers printing stuff was really the standard for many years, for most of the years. And that's now things are more electronic and digital, but that was why in the beginning, it became such a standard to have low-cost lasers.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I got to say about it, it's got a jet direct in it, but it's only 10 base T. So I have to plug it into a 10/100 hub. The rest of my stuff is 1000 base, but the 10/100 plugs into one port. So when it's got to go to the laser printer, it may think about it as it's transferring it down at 10 megabits per second into the laser printer. But once it gets going, it sits there and cranks at about 8 pages a minute. But if I'm downloading something off a web page, which is all bits and it's not printed sanely. Oh, there's usually government sites are like that. When you download something and it sits there and blinks and transferring data. What is this 80 megabits worth of stuff that I used to print this icon, you know? Okay, it prints. But I have run 105-pound stock through it. As long as I went through the straight path in the front and ran right out and didn't go into the feeder in the top and just right out the back, I could run 105-pound stock through it. Worked like a champ. Invitations for one of my daughter's weddings. But yeah, that's impressive stuff. So she needs a printer, or she needs to interface to a printer.
So I don't know, but Tim's working on that. So we'll see how it works out.
Okay.
Nonetheless, in the meantime, I back her up to when she can't get the email to go out.
Well, that's why I just hesitated when I sent it. I was like, oh, I'll just add Bert to this and maybe I'll make sure it gets out. Worked like a champ.
Good.
Okay, everyone else had no problems this month, huh?
Oh, yeah, right. I'm having multiple. One of them, which is bugging me, is it appears that the connector for USB-C from the charger on my LG is not staying in tight, so it's not charging. So plugged in and it said I was down to 5% battery. So if I leave it sitting on its edge, sort of in a V, then it's charging.
And there's not any foreign material in the connector?
No, there's not. And
You
there
check-
are two USB-C ports, and I can put it in either one. And I'm not getting, for some reason, I'm not getting it charging unless, as I said, I put it on its edge so the cord is sitting in there straight down.
What is it running for an operating system?
Well, it's Windows, but
It is a Windows, okay. I know that on some Android 11 phones, they have what's called adaptive or smart charging. That means sometimes you will plug in your phone into the charger and it won't charge. It thinks you're going to have enough power, so it bypasses the charger. So in which case, if you really want to have it top off your phone after it's like down to 64% and it thinks it's not going to need to be charged before tomorrow and you're going out of town, tell it to erase the previous charging information and clear, just say, turn off smart charging, turn it back on. This will erase your history. Yes, erase my history. Then it will go back to doing charging again.
yeah, they have a mode on the LG, which is something like battery preservation, which tells it don't charge above 80% if that setting's turned on.
80%. Okay.
You can
I
set
know
the
that the-
percentage, but that's the default.
The HP business machines always used to do is 92%. So if it was below 92, it would charge. If it was above 92, it would leave it alone. And that, I don't even think you could change. I think it was just, that was the way it was. And I'm still working on machines that have batteries that go back probably about 7 or 8 years old right now on the machine I'm using now. And my previous one was a 2009 vintage HP 6910B or compact, and it had one of its original batteries, and it was 10 years old. And it also did the same thing. And by not topping off the battery every time it was plugged in, when it was at 92 or above, and it just ran the unit on the charger and just didn't touch the battery, that was the sweet spot. That kept the batteries from being overcharged. And I would constantly get people's Samsung PCs or something, laptops that were consumer grade, and they'd need a new battery after 3 years because every time it plugged in, it topped off the battery.
Yeah, no, I get it. I usually turn that setting off if I'm going to be on the road for a day where I want battery juice.
Yeah.
But then I put it back on.
Okay.
So yeah, no, it's a little toggle switch in the LG app. But yeah, I have a feeling I'm going to end up needing to send it into them if it's a port issue. If it's the brick issue, then they can probably swap out a replacement. It's still well under warranty. It's only 4 months old. So.
Right. It just seems strange when you have something that's relatively new that you have issues that are coming up with something that should have been well tested.
Yeah, should have been the operative there.
Should have, yes. That's it. Well, we got Sid out there. He'll test it for us.
Well, back in the 70s, all of my calculator HP equipment, none of the batteries worked after a while, and you couldn't replace them. And for some reason, the technology back then for batteries just wasn't very good at all.
I remember a lot of those HP 3545s. Oh, yes. I had the TI 59, same problem with the batteries. Yeah. And then I got my HP 16C button battery.
Well, those had regular batteries. They did, so they still work.
Yeah,
They're still replaced.
still works.
I had huge amounts of all that stuff, almost everything that they made back then, and still have it. I don't know what to do with it, but I still have it.
Somewhere, I think I have an HP financial calculator here too. I don't remember where I
Right.
put it.
Well, there's the one that had the two opened up,
Yeah,
sort of like,
the one that did this. Yeah.
and there's also those that don't. And there was also a calculator that had an adding machine tape that had that same kind of functionality. And I was actually the speaker for HP when they came around to Chicago to announce it.
Ah, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Yep.
Was that out of the Colorado division?
Well, in '74, I became a consultant to the Colorado people and in Loveland. And then our first project was with an HP 81, which was their financial calculator that they made to replace the Frieden calculator that had all the gears.
Yep.
To be able to appreciate various calculations for financial statements, so you could get the percentages against the total. And then and then we also designed and made the general ledger system that they made for the 9830, which was right after that in '75. In '76, that moved to a 9831. And in '79 and '76, I drew on a napkin the computer that was they made in '79 called the HP 250,
Okay.
which lasted until 1990.
And then they stopped. I did a lot of things with HP 1000s.
Right. Well, this was HP 1000s were using data to be able to gather instrument data real fast and be able to be fast enough to do that. But the HP 3000 was one system,
That was
another
a
part of
different
HP.
beast, completely different beast. I had
Right.
both 2114s and 2100s and did a lot of stuff with them. In fact, I did so much stuff with HP DOS 3 that when HP stopped supporting it, I would get calls from some of the HP field offices asking me questions about DOS 3.
Well, in the HP 250 that came out in '79 that I drew on the napkin, it included the HP 3000 database in the operating system.
Cool.
So we don't see that where operating systems actually have a database built in, even still today.
Not too many. There probably is a
Eventually,
couple.
that
The
all
database
went to
happens to
Unix.
be the task list.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's obviously lots of databases, but anyway, it was an interpretive. It started, the first one was 8-bit, then it's 16-bit, then 15 users, 16-bit, and then that was that whole series of systems. And then the PCs came along in '83. And so by '85, it became a more popular thing to do.
Mhm.
But before that, there was also CPM and DOS that were in terminals that they had.
Oh yeah,
And
I
they had
remember that.
graphics terminals I worked with. Those
2640,
graphic terminals and plotters.
2640,
Yeah,
2645.
we had a lot of plot.
I used to have one that used to sit over there on that cabinet. But then I found somebody else that needed it more than me. So I said, here, it's yours. With the dual tape cartridges.
Yeah,
We also had
the-
one specially made, was a 2640 E15. And it would interface,
okay.
it was a special interface to a 2640 that had a TTL interface directly going right into the UART, where the UART would have been. So we could update the screen at about 85,000 characters per second.
Well, I had worked with a 2640 terminal that interfaced both a PC program and an IBM 32 and 34 to be able to transfer data back and forth into an HP system, accounting system.
Okay.
And then we had, but the what I was saying before about the laser printers, in 77, I was in the early 80s, I was working as a regional VAR representative, and 6 of us would go out to Cupertino at the HP factory, exactly where the IBM factory is now.
No, it's an Apple one, isn't it?
Yeah, the Apple
That's where Apple
Circle,
is.
right?
Yeah, right.
And so we would go there and we would decide the upgrades and what to interface with those systems.
Cool.
And we worked with the vice president of HP, who then became the president of Novell, Bob Frankenberg.
Okay.
That didn't work out too well, but that's a different problem. But anyway, when I was there we're working with them, one of the guys was going out to create a new laser printer, and his job was to go to the Smithsonian to get the fonts to be able to build into the laser printer. And so I had dinner with him, and the next day he was going out to Smithsonian. And what was the problem was they wanted to sell the next laser printer from 20,000 down to 10,000. And because of the need we had from the accounting side of not having 6 carbons to do something, I talked them into, getting it down lower cost. So it came out at 2,500.
Yeah.
And then went down all the way to $89. But anyway.
Yeah, that's too far. When it went down below that, that was too much. They've cost reduced it too much.
So that's why the first laser jets were, actually the first time I saw a laser jet was with an HP 3000. And they had a box of sprocket paper on one side, and it sort of fed like a form feed. And they had a guy with I guess, digitizer, and he actually digitized page 1 of a tax form. And this thing just form fed all the way through, and he had a whole box full of paper in maybe, just a minute or two. The laser worked that good, but it was $325,000, so it wasn't a good choice for most people.
Yeah. No, I remember being in that building in Cupertino. I got to visit. We were playing with the 13037 intelligent disk controllers, the ones that could handle multiple computers and multiple disk chains. And I was interfacing it to our DOS 3 interface that we had developed with a multi-processor. Also supporting it was only using 7920s at that time, or 7905s, and we had to make it work with the new 7920s. We're talking a 50 megabyte cartridge disk.
Well,
not gigabyte, megabyte.
Our first hard drive was $17,000 with the big white platters, and it was 2.5 megabyte fixed and 2.5 removable.
Yeah, that's an IOMEC 2870. I've used one. And if anybody wants any Ren 5 SCSI drives, I have 3 500 gig drives. But I'm not going to ship them because it will cost more to ship them than you can afford because they're heavy.
Well, in the 70s, late 70s, we had the 9831 16-bit desktop that had a cartridge tape. And I used to have to make accounting systems or different invent systems with tapes. And there you had to figure out, okay, here's a block and another block and another block. And now you got to move over to this far to be able to read the next block or whatever. And that was a different kind of programming.
Oh, yeah. Did you, when you were in Cupertino, did you ever hear them shout out? The thing I liked about Cupertino was the fact that at 10 o'clock and in the afternoon, they would bring the carts out with the coffee and the donuts. When I was there, they
Well-
had the coffee and donut carts that would come out in the morning, and then in the afternoon it was fresh fruit. And I think, well, that means you don't have to run down to the cafeteria. You just go out and like take one. You're like, wow. And then the really shocking thing was when they announced over the PA that there was a beer blast in the orchard at noon.
Well, the weird thing for me was when in Palo Alto, not Palo Alto, in Loveland. In Loveland, we worked with the group. There were only 8 people in the group. That's the kind of things that they did. And in the basement, we had a certain section of those people, and we would go there. And if you right across 10 feet away, you had people making the designs for the boards in a computer. A guy with a ruler drawing lines and doing all that. And then about 20 feet the other way, you had a white room where they were making the chips.
Yeah.
Which was pretty cool. And then that group, we bought them T-shirts because they played volleyball against each other. So they had volleyball breaks during the day.
Uh-huh. I remember going
Oh,
by that plant. That was on 34, wasn't it? Right outside, if you come right out of the mountains.
I don't remember where it was exactly, except that it was near a building that looked like Legos.
I don't remember the Lego building. I remember coming down because US 34 is where the Big Thompson Canyon is, where they had the flood, the flash flood that came through.
Right,
And they had the signs that
right,
say,
it's near there.
prepare to move to higher safety. And then you see the sign there, and then you see a bridge that's up on the side of the canyon wall, said the water went that high.
Well, HP had its own place, Estes Park, where the employees could go to vacation.
Ah,
And
okay.
when we were there, they would take us up to dinner at some fancy restaurant near Estes Park there, up that winding road that flooded.
Yeah, I only got as far as the printer place in Boise. But knowing this, let's go ahead. I'm going to start my presentation here if I can find the share button. Did you have any questions, Kathy, before I start?
Nope, I haven't had any problems since last month, so I'm good, thank you.
Knock on particle board.
Yes, yes. Let's hope it stays that way.
Yeah, let's hope it does too. Okay, let's see if that works okay. Everyone can see it?
Yes.
Good. Have you tried portable apps? Since I also have worked on a number of computers that I am required to help support, and it never seems to happen that I have the right utility that I need on a particular machine. I said, looked into this before, and it finally has come a little bit more of age. It's called portable apps. And what are portable apps? Well, they allow you to put your applications on a flash drive or portable media, and then make sure it's available on any machine you plug it into without having to reinstall it. Okay, so this isn't exactly new technology. I have some SanDisk USB drives here somewheres that have U3 technology that used to do this as well. And every time you'd plug it in, it would sit there and ka-chunk on a new machine until it did its install. And then you would have the apps that were available on this U3 drive. But that's a little bit long in the tooth, and they turned it off in 2010. But it was an interesting way of doing things. It was, the portable apps were limited to what they supported. Other types of bootable utilities that are common in the industry. I've used the Hiram boot disk, which is a CD, and you can make it into a bootable USB. And it had a whole raft of utilities on it, including some versions of Live Linux, and also had copies of like a mini XP interpreter or a mini XP command window where you could actually do some minor things, and like used for fixing disks more than anything else. You can also boot all kinds of stuff up with a Live Linux distribution. Live Linux is a bootable portable utility, but these are replacing the operating system in a machine with a different operating system. Okay. Portable apps allows you to plug in to a machine and run the apps from the flash drive and not interfere with the main computer, other than the fact that you plugged in the USB and you clicked on and ran one program. So the current portableapps.com, you download the image and it installs on a USB, and then you can choose what apps you want to select from, and it will add them to this bootable image. You can, you always start with the platform first, and then once the platform is up and running, you can select which ones that you think you might want to use, the type of apps that you would like to have on this port. And you can always add to them later. You don't have to figure out what you want to begin with, but it's a neat way of doing it. You probably don't want all the apps that are available. They do have distributions of LibreOffice that are in excess of 1 gigabyte in size. You probably don't want to throw that on there unless you think you're going to need it all the time. Also, the folders are on the USB drive. So the more you put on the USB drive, you might want to make sure you have a large enough USB to use, such that you're not reusing the last 10 bytes on it all the time. Using it's pretty easy. You plug it in, and if you have auto boot disabled, then you just have to manually open that drive and click on the start.exe. And once it launches, you get an icon in the system tray, and it'll pop up a little window. And the window will show you, basically organizes the apps that it has available into categories. So on the left is the condensed screen, and on the right is the ones that I happen to have chosen out of there that I happen to use. Notepad++ is like one of the ultimate text editors that can do just about anything you really want it to do. Almost, almost as well as most of the programmable editors. I mean, I've used Tico and I've used several other ones in the past, and this is equivalent to the capabilities you might find in those. JPEG view just happens to be one of the JPEG utilities. Sometimes you don't have the right one you want to view, and sometimes having a couple of different graphic processing utilities is available much quicker than trying to find something on the internet and download it. I was able to throw a number of browsers on here. Put in FileZilla, Chrome, Firefox. FileZilla isn't a browser. FileZilla is a file transfer utility, which can transfer secure FTP as well as regular FTP. Opera, and I also threw a copy of Putty on here as well. Chrome, Firefox, and Opera are all browsers. And if you check the option in here to turn off updating, they'll basically stay at the version you just installed, which is kind of nice. I've been looking for something for a while that would allow me to install a version of a browser at a particular level and leave it there. So when I got a new update that slammed in and Chrome 135 shows up and things start breaking, I can always go back to this thing with Chrome 100 and say, yes, it still worked with Chrome 100. So that way you can eliminate problems with browsers on a target machine, knowing, is it a hardware problem? Is it a browser problem? What kind of problem? Is it a hard disk problem? What is it? And when you use Chrome in portable apps, your temporary area is actually on the flash drive. It isn't down on your hard drive, so it's not interfering with your hard drive. Other things here, I also had some music in Audacity is a classic one for processing audio clips and audio information, along with the lame encoder. So that way you can do a lot of things with those two. VLC is also another classic. Just having a zip processing, having the ability to do 7-zip, can take apart a RAR file, can take apart a zip file. I was surprised. They also included as an option on here, Process Explorer and TCP View, some of my favorite utilities from sysinternals. And they work just fine on there as well. Now I don't have to install sysinternals every time I go and work on somebody's machine and see what's happening. I haven't tried the Teamviewer on here, but it was an interesting item. I thought, let's try it anyway. I'll get it and then I'll try it at some later date. Teamviewer allows you support. And it would be nice to have a Teamviewer quick support, like you could plug in a flash drive, tell somebody to click on this and then fire up the quick support. And now you could access their machine and fix a problem for them. Clicking on the app launches it. So the browsers all fire up. Sometimes you might get a warning out of your operating system, particularly if it's trying to access the internet, about this program is now trying to access through the firewall. Do you want it to do so? Something you wouldn't normally see when Chrome is installed on your hard drive, but since it's coming in through portable apps, it doesn't really know that Chrome is out there on that portable flash drive and it wasn't installed in the main directory where I expect to find Chrome. So I had to allow it access through the firewall to be able to do what it needed to do. It also might be a little bit slower to launch than the ones on your SSD drive, but not having to install something on somebody else's machine and then explain why it's there later when the antivirus shows up and said, I need to take this off. And you can keep a locked version of a browser and block the updating of apps, which I thought was the more valuable option. Here's when I loaded up Notepad++, the default save location. It's a little hard to read here, but the default save location is a directory on the flash drive. All right, let's see. Yeah, I got a screen distortion here. This is when you're trying to add more apps. You click on the apps, get more apps, and then you can add them by category, by title, by new releases, or recent. You could check the recently updated apps. If you have it set to automatically upgrade, it will, when you plug it in and fire it up, it'll automatically update its apps. Sometimes you don't want it to do that. This I haven't tried. Install a new app, PAF.exe. Like being able to install another portable app that isn't in the portable app directory, perhaps. Haven't discovered that one yet. Here's some of the apps that are available when you just load the platform, and it gives you this screen with everything unchecked. And you choose which ones you want to load. So there's ones for accessibility, ones for development, there's ones for education, there's games, there's internet utilities, there's a whole bunch. So I'm going to do this for now. I'm going to hit the stop share and I'm going to do.
This is all a Windows operating system, right?
In theory, Windows, but I think the concept could go beyond Windows, but with Linux, you're already halfway there with live Linux distributions. You can basically have just about anything you want on a live Linux plug-in USB.
And with Linux, portability is handled a different way.
Yeah.
There are packaging systems called Snap, Flatpak, and AppImage, which carry with them every dependency you need, and you can freeze the version of everything.
Yeah. So, okay, let me do this. Share and let's see, advanced. Where's my screen? Whiteboard. There, screen. That's the one I want. Share. Okay, let's do this. I'm going to close this. And down here, I haven't, there's nothing here yet for the thing because I have auto launch disabled. So I just have to click my start. And once I have start running, then I have, there's my screen right there. That's portable apps right there. So if I want to go in and do something with Chrome, I double click on it and it'll launch up a copy of Chrome, and it's starting it up and putting all of the temp files and everything else is all coming off of the USB drive. And I'm not using any of my SSD drive. And I'm going to see there. Okay, we've launched. So right now I'm coming up and I don't have, so it's once, here's one of the things I warned about. Doesn't know this, so I have to allow access in these cases, just so it can go ahead and then boom. And now I could actually sign in, use one of my accounts if I wished. I could use Gmail. I could use any of the other apps that are here, but it operates pretty much like a local copy of Chrome, but it's not going into any of my search history right now. It's not even leaving any breadcrumbs left behind on the hard drive. It's totally on that flash drive.
Is it using Wi-Fi?
It's using whatever network connection I have on this machine.
Okay.
But it's all self-contained on this flash drive. So if you need to do something and you need to borrow a machine and you don't want to touch anything on the hard drive, this is a good way to do it. And then my icon is down here somewhere. There's the portable apps icon. So when I click on it, it remembers the last place it was at. There's utilities. I could run 7-zip. I could run Teamviewer. I've used Notepad++. So it'll go ahead and launch Notepad++, and then the default location will be saving on the flash drive, not on my hard drive. But there, I actually clicked it twice, have 2 copies of it running. But I could actually, and it has, I'm not sure if it had. One thing I would need to try is I don't have my hex viewer add in. I'm going to see if I can add the hex viewer add into this. I end up clicking it several times and I got 1 for each click. How's that for smart?
The default save would be the USB, but can you still save?
Oh, you can save it anywhere as you want. Yeah, you just change the file where you want to save it. But it's normal default places. Let me pull this. Let me pull up a right here. I show you the format of that drive. It has a folder for documents, which would have music, pictures, videos, whatever else you wanted to categorize. That's what it defaults to. Inside is where the portable, this is where all the portable apps are stored. They're installed inside in there. I have an extra copy of Sysinternal Suite that I copied onto here because there was a couple things that I didn't have in portable apps that I think I might need occasionally. And this is the portable apps executable that I use to install the platform. Okay, and that was 6 megs. But then everything else that takes up room on here, I mean, there's a lot of files on here. Okay, for those apps that I have, I'm using up 1.6 gig on here. And this is a 16 gig flash drive. But I still have room to put more. I have more to put room to put other things as well. I can basically do whatever I decide to do here. And when the interesting thing, when you want to exit, you can click the 1 button here. And not only does it take the smart icon away, oh, it says Google Chrome is still running. I got to close my Google Chrome. Okay. All right, did I get the other one closed too? I think so. It removed the icon and it uninstalled the USB flash drive all at the same time.
Now,
Yeah.
could you use this something like go to a library? where they have
Sure,
computers?
if they allow you to plug in a USB drive. Of course, if one of your apps needs access through the firewall, they may have blocked off that
Yeah,
kind of capability. But other things like your own utilities, like you could have your own database, you could have your own files on there. You bring your own favorite editor. If you had LibreOffice on here, you could do anything that LibreOffice will let you manipulate.
How much is the software?
It's free.
And all the apps are free as well.
All those apps are public domain apps.
Are they all, did you all get them from their website, or you went to different?
Portableapps.com.
Pardon?
As long as they're on portableapps.com.
That's where you get the software and the apps.
That's correct.
Okay.
And there's 46 gigabytes of apps.
How
here's
long have you been
here's
using
the
it?
list.
How long have you been trying it?
Huh?
How long have you been trying this out?
Oh, I played with it a couple weeks. But this is all the stuff that's there. They have tons of games. Tons of games. They have a lot of graphics programs, a free CAD.
Would you even be able to, do they have an app that's like a virus scanner that you could actually plug it in and scan?
We're getting there. We're getting there. There's the internet ones. There's Telnet and SSH with additional features. So this is a putty kitty, it's called here. I haven't used kitty specifically. I have used putty though. Most of these are other torrent programs. If you're allowed to use uTorrent, they have ones there. Music and video, Office. This is where I was talking. They have all kinds. There's Calibrate. That's an ebook manager that works very well. PDF creators and changers and other stuff are out here. Security. This is what you're asking for. Certain virus scanners. Okay. They have Kaspersky, the rootkit remover. They have some other ones here as well. I have not tried any of them. Spybot is here. They have a number of password managers as well. I have not tried those either. And other utilities. Here's the 7-zip. All kinds of auto runs. That's one from sysinternals. Auto runs is a nice one if you're ever wondering how things start on your computer and where they get started from. Auto runs will show you where it came from. Oh yes, Profiler CPU-Z. All kinds of file and directory viewers, defraggers, portable apps backup, integrated backup utility. I have not tried that yet either. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff out there that I could try. I haven't gotten that far yet.
What if you're using one of the browsers, whether it's Chrome or Firefox on the USB thing plugin, and you go to, if you get to a website that has may have viruses, can it therefore still download them to your computer, or would it
can still be anything that can be compromised in the browser can still be compromised
on the computer, not just on the USB?
Yeah, I mean, because the computer is accessible from any of these apps. I just have to choose the right drive.
Yeah, okay.
So, but then the same things will happen. You're still being watched by your antivirus programs. If you download something that contains a virus, your antivirus programs are going to jump on it like a chicken on a June bug anyway.
Oh, even if it's downloading it to the
Yeah,
US.
if you're downloading something and there's a virus contained in it that they recognize, they stop it. They quarantine it right away.
Okay.
I mean, it's not going to completely protect you. It's not like, well, the other way to do it would be to boot up on a live Linux and make sure you don't have any accessibility to the local hard drive. You're just totally a live Linux and no hard drive disk drivers loaded, then it can't go near your hard drive. Then you can do whatever you want. That's sort of like what the Onion Project bootable Linux does. It boots up and it does not reference your hard drive at all. That one is safer at browsing strange locations then. But I don't think I saw Tor in here, the Tor browser, although it might be here. I just haven't found it yet. Let's just see if I can find it.
Or uses Tails as its Linux
Yeah,
environment.
I remember that. Yes. Yeah, editor. Yeah, but I have a bootable Tails OS that I've used in the past on machines when I thought, okay, we're going to go search for some strange stuff here. I don't want to go anywhere near any hard drives or anything. That's what I would use. But anyhow, that is portable apps. Very interesting. It's something that if you got an extra hard flash drive that you're not doing anything with, it's an easy thing to install and try and see if it does what you need it to do. Yes, Sid.
Few things. I've been using portable apps since 2005, and it started in 2004. There's a lot of stuff there. There is a version of Tor available. You have to go into the forums under beta, and there's a link there. It hasn't been updated though in a few years now, but it is there.
And what does that one what does that one version do? Tor?
It's a portable version of Tor, but again, it's a few years old now. The other one I use is called LiberKey. I put the link to it in chat.
Okay.
LiberKey is out of Italy. It's a slicker interface than portable apps. All the portable apps have gained on it over time. It also has some portable apps that aren't available on the portable apps platform, or portable apps has some that aren't available in LiberKey. So they both have their benefits of stuff. As I said, LiberKey has a nice interface. Again, on both of these, you can try them. They're portable.
Okay, I put the copy of the presentation into the chat. So if you want to download it, be my guest.
One of the things we wanted to try and do is if you also send it to Sanford, he can post it with the video.
Oh, well, if
on
he
YouTube.
has access to the Zoom, the chat is saved in the I'm not sure if the attachments are saved on the Zoom, the main account or not. I'll have to see. I'll send him a copy. Well, he's here. He just got a copy. I'm not on a PC at this time. Okay. I will send it to you.
Thanks.
Okay.
And if anybody wants to, all the details and pieces are there to make your own portable apps.
Cool.
On the website, you've got all the specs, you've got all the basic code there.
Okay. All right. But I know that, like I said, I saw a couple things that were on. One what to do with an extra flash drive that you didn't know what to do with, then okay, that would be a thing to play with. I happen to put this on a new flash drive, not an old one that I had reused, because I think all of my old ones have stuff on them I'm not ready to take off. Have you ever sat back and looked and see how many flash drives that you have?
Now, there are ways of combining stuff onto flash drives beyond this portable apps way. This is one way. Another way is, suppose you have something like Macrium Reflect, and it already makes WinRE, and you can add a folder there and put in just about any kind of an application that can run in that simplified environment. I have successfully run the Windows Microsoft Safety Scanner. There are several other antivirus scanners that can run that way. And not all applications can, because not all the resources are there.
Right. I mean, that sometimes what I think one of the nicest ones was one on that old Hiram boot disk, was the little like mini XP that you could fire up, and then basically it had a little graphic window and you could run programs in it.
That will work within the Macrium Reflect Rescue environment, because that's WinRE, and that particular app, I believe, would work there.
Okay. I couldn't quite get Hyperterm to work in that particular environment. I tried a lot though. I didn't quite have the drivers necessary to talk to the serial port.
Yeah, you need the right drivers. Drivers are the biggest issue in WinRE, and there are ways of adding them in or rolling them in, but it's complicated.
Yeah, and that was beyond my allowed level of involvement with that particular experiment.
Yeah.
The people paying the bill decided, no, we don't want you to investigate that.
Yeah, but Macrium Reflect for their rescue environment can pick up drivers from your machine if it knows which folder to go to, and if they don't have registry entries.
The link I added in chat goes to the portable apps page, which is cool if you want to see what's new. It lists stuff in reverse date order, so newest stuff first.
Great, great. And for those who do Linux, there is an article I included about finding app images, which are portable.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's a little dated, but there have been updates to that. And also the more recent Linux distros now also use Snap or Flatpak. These are not particularly portable in the sense that you can't just put them on a flash drive, but they are, again, self-contained apps that you just download the application and it's going to run. You don't have to worry about whether or not you have to add additional things to make it work, which is the biggest problem in Linux.
Yeah. I'm sorry, you don't have that library.
Yeah, you don't have that dependency. Therefore, we can't install this or we can't run that.
So
yeah.
When you have something that's packaged as Snap or Flatpak, they're by design not sharing any library.
The shared libraries are contained within the Snap or the Flatpak environment.
So it will recognize whether you already have that library and not have to bring it in?
There are runtimes.
Okay, all right.
Which are included and which update separately. And they are part of Flatpak, part of Snap. In Snap, it's automatic. In Flatpak, you can update that or not update that to whatever you please.
Let me have to look at that.
And that also allows you to have old, obsolete versions of the runtimes on a Linux system without messing up the system itself.
That's always been a problem in almost every operating system.
Yeah, with Flatpak, that's reduced but not eliminated.
Mm-hmm.
Flatpak will sometimes tell you this particular runtime is obsolete for a reason. There's a security issue.
Oh, you mean
no longer
Flash?
Supported?
You mean Flash?
It'll just say this is no longer supported or this is insecure.
JavaScript 1.6.1?
Yeah, it doesn't prevent you from using it, but it warns you.
Yeah, it warns you, as long as it allows me to use it, because I still have some devices that require Flash Player to access the interface.
Oh, by the way, in Linux, Flash is okay.
I know. I'm not usually sitting at a Linux machine when I need to access things, though, and I get, okay, let's go ahead and dig this out.
Yeah, most of us are using Windows most of the time. And if it's Windows, yeah, you're not going to be able to do all this.
And then the other ones needed JavaScript. The older machines needed JavaScript.
Yeah. So, there are disadvantages to trying to use something completely new like Linux, but it does open up new vistas for you.
The one thing I got to say about the JavaScript requirement, I've had this access point that I'm looking at across the room from me running basically nonstop since 2012. It's still running. It's been powered up and there's been a power failure or two, but it comes back and it's perfectly happy. 802.11 G and 802.11a. None of this A and other fancy stuff, just A and G. Takes a licking, keeps on ticking. But sometimes you want the old stuff because it's the reliable one that doesn't burp. And you ever have a router every once in a while, it's got to be rebooted because things stop working on it. This one doesn't. It's not a router per se. Well, it could be a router. It's only being used as an access point.
We have time for an announcement, Ed.
Be my guest.
We're going to have the first meeting of the CCS Investment SIG. It'll be the second Thursdays of the month. It'll be first one will be on May 9th, the 7 to 9. It's going to be co-hosted by my daughter. She's a high school teacher. We're going to do the first one on taxes 2021, which obviously all investors have to be concerned with. Second one we'll do on investment types. And the third one we'll do on investment tracking software that people can utilize.
Terry, what was that date?
What?
What was the date?
It's going
You
to be
said May
the
9th.
second Thursdays, 7 p.m., 7 to 9. And
In
my
June?
daughter's co-host. She's a high school teacher.
In June?
What? She'll
In
be
June?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
No, the
We
date,
should
you
have
said
enough
May
trouble
9th.
with teams.
I think he said May 9th, but he probably meant June.
Yeah, second Thursday of the month. Yeah. So we hope you all can tune in and learn something. Yeah.
Just say no to Bitcoin.
Yeah, well, I was going to say the stock market lost 1,000
Brillion.
1,000 points the other
Brillion.
yesterday or
Bitcoin,
whatever.
yeah.
So yeah, good time to be an observer. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I will be talking a little more about Bitcoin and various crypto things at the August CCS West Side meeting.
Yeah, well,
So
is it Bitcoin drop from 60,000 to 30,000 or something like that? Yeah.
it doesn't matter with Bitcoin. The problems happened with stablecoin.
Well, yeah, if you're ETFs or whatever, I mean, it's.
Well, that's what happens when you have an oxymoron for a name.
Well, it's
Stablecoin.
Bob, cryptocurrency is gambling, basically, yeah.
It depends.
No, the thing
Bitcoin
you
has a
gamble
history.
on is NFTs.
Right.
What?
NFT, that'll be part of my talk. NFT, Ethereum, how that's tied together and why that's so unstable.
Oh.
I mean,
Whereas Bitcoin can be tied to real world objects.
Yeah.
Therefore, sometimes it can be used in ways that are okay. But the main thing is the technology of blockchain, which has been developed for these cryptocurrencies, has many legitimate uses and has helped to stabilize things like credit card transactions and even commodities transactions, smart contracts, and how they have equalized markets. You used to have a thing called front running, where somebody could steal your trade out from under you because they had a faster connection on the network. There was a whole book called The Flash Boys about that.
There is a lot of options like on cryptocurrency, go long, go short, that kind of stuff or whatever.
Yeah, there are derivatives. The Chicago Board of Trade has these derivatives. And because they are governed differently from the New York Stock Exchange and the Amex, these kinds of smart contracts are accepted there. Whereas the SEC doesn't
that's
like
really
them.
risky. Whew.
The SEC does not like these kinds of contracts.
Oh, yeah.
So the SEC has regulated, and they may, they will try to regulate Bitcoin transactions that happen on their platforms. But anyway, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, unless this is all that we have left to talk about.
Well, the only other thing I would like to talk about is, if Bitcoin is so stable, what happened to the inventor of Bitcoin?
Nobody knows who Satoshi was.
I know.
And that was by design. That was by
Elon
design.
Musk said he knew, but
He probably went to Russia. Yeah.
I'm wondering if he became Ukraine's, whether he became
Like
Ukraine's
that
ghost.
whistleblower that went to Russia. Yeah.
More like Ukraine, the ghost of Kiev.
well, but didn't he have a whole lot of the original value of Bitcoin that disappeared?
No, there were other people who raided the Mt. Gox exchange you're talking about.
Yeah.
And it was just one exchange. Ethereum was the one that had the big problem, where people forged transactions and they made fake contracts and fake NFTs, and they were able to double spend the coins. That blockchain was terminated, and a new blockchain is being invented, and they're changing from, and I'll explain this. I explained it a little bit on Southside on Tuesday. They're going from proof of work to proof of stake. Proof of stake has its own problems.
Cool.
But proof of work has proven to be very problematic. But proof of work is how you generate, how you mine these coins to this day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
But anyway, proof of stake, you have a problem with what's called the 51% problem. If any person or group gets a 51% stake in a blockchain, they can manipulate it.
I read, people were hacking Bitcoin and ending up with fake Bitcoins, and it can be quite a mess, I guess. Huh?
These were exchanges, and it's a matter of trust. There were two Canadian, at least one Canadian exchange and a couple of others where they were set up in a way that there was no coin being purchased. And the founders of these exchanges just took the money and ran. You have to know the exchange that you're using to store your coin. And you have to remember the PIN code for the wallet if you get a physical wallet. Otherwise, you just have to remember how to access your Bitcoin denominated debit card. There are ATMs for this. There are ATMs for crypto.
If there's a way to do something criminal, somebody will figure out a way to do it.
Well, they can do it with credit cards now.
Yeah.
Well,
You had a question?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right, 3 quickies. One, there's a great piece from Paul Krugman in the New York Times. I agreed with him entirely. There is no valid use case for cryptocurrency whatsoever. And I mean no valid case beyond fraud, cheating, and illicit laundering of money. Nothing else. There are plenty of platforms like Zelle for transferring cash. It doesn't solve that. There's basically no good use case for it other than speculating and trying to make money off it and people starting new currencies. It's the greater idiot theory of who's the last man in, who's left holding the bag on it. You may disagree with me, Bob, and that's a subject probably for another time. But it's a great piece if you get a chance to read it.
Sid, you will love my piece on Ethereum and NFT. There, you are absolutely correct. And I will include things about what the government of India says about cryptocurrency
Oh,
and what China says about cryptocurrency.
They're
The
against
government
it,
of
yeah.
India has called cryptocurrency a Ponzi scheme.
Yes.
Yep.
And the government of China has banned it, but that's because the government of China has a different kind of electronic digital currency, which I will explain what it is, and it's tied to their central bank currency. We have one that's starting up, and so we may get further regulations.
Well, it was also the amount of power in China that was being used on the farms to build, to get more of the currency. I guess
The mining went on in the Philippines and elsewhere.
evidently there were 3 major farms in China that
Okay.
were using a
Yeah.
massive amount of power.
Wilma says hello. Hello, Wilma says hello.
Second thing real quick, next Tuesday is the next uniform meeting. I'm gonna miss it, unfortunately, I've got something else. But they're gonna be doing a Raspberry Pi talk on Tuesday night. So that will be online virtual. I think it's 7 o'clock it's starting at. They're based on Meetup, so if you search on uniform on Meetup, you can find the info on that. But it looks like an interesting topic. And then my club, APCU, we're the last Saturday of the month. And this month is going to be primarily Q&A stuff, also on Zoom. Since we keep voting the membership and nobody wants to do it first, everybody's going, let's stay virtual, let's stay virtual. So we're virtual. Anyway, those were my 3.
Only 3. Go ahead, Bert.
Sanford reminded me, we talked before about Beata's computer being old and needing replacement. If anybody has perhaps an older computer that runs Windows 10, we'd be interested in, maybe you got a new computer with Windows 11, we'd be interested in donations. You even get tax deductions for the value. And, so just let email Beata for anything you might have available for us to use in lieu of having to buy a computer. Thanks.
Okay. Hopefully it's at least a quad core.
Well, whatever it is, it'll be better than what we've got right now.
Win 7, yeah. Okay.
And just one thing about Southside, I did make my presentation notes available, and let me put my email into chat in case anybody wants those notes on cryptocurrency.
I do.
If you give them to Sanford, he'll post them with the program.
Sanford, I saw your thing on, was it Levo or something, computer? Can you spend a minute explain what that was? What was it, Levano or something?
I'm sorry, I'm not following your question.
Well, I saw a thing where you recommended a computer.
Oh, it was there's one on Newegg from Newegg had a Lenovo. It was a Core i5 with Windows 10 Pro. It had a lot of good specs on there for $160. If anyone wants to buy it for the society, we'd really appreciate that.
Where did you find that in?
I found that on Newegg. It's in the link in the email that I sent. I could post it to this chat.
Yeah, that sounds, yeah, $150 sounds great. Yeah.
It was 160, free shipping, and it's a refurb computer. What's it? 8 gigs of RAM and 250 gig SSD.
Yeah, if you could send the link out or whatever, Sanford, that'd be great. Yeah.
Okay. I could put that. It'll take me a few moments to find that again.
Okay.
I'd be happy to find that.
Let me go to a different folder and find my presentation from South Suburban. There it is. Okay, so now I have to go into, let me post my commentary. Let me post my document. And South Suburban, cryptocurrency and validated transactions coming at you.
And if you can send it to Sanford, he'll put it up on YouTube.
I actually, the document should be included in what Al Cheeks has already got posted. And he has sent a link to at least some of us.
Well, I sent out the links, but I just, in order to make sure it's there, send it to Sanford or Piata.
I will do that. I will do that. Let me get on that right away.
Don't send
CCS.
anything to me now. You could send it to me later.
It's going to CCS1.
Okay.
That's
All right.
fine.
Currently, I'm in Boston and I'm on an Android tablet, so I can't do anything.
Yeah, one CCS admin at Comcast. Is that good enough?
That's correct. That's perfect. .net.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Presentation notes. That way we're not dependent on whatever Al Cheats has posted because that only lasts a week.
Right. But I thought that Tim also was videoing it, so I haven't
Yes.
seen.
Tim did
Stanford did-
record. Tim did record that meeting,
Right.
but we don't know where Tim stores anything, so let's not get into that issue
Well-
again.
Well, he sends it off to Sanford for posting to YouTube.
YouTube. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I do know that next month I have a conflict, so I won't be able to meet next month. So if anybody else wants to host the meeting, see Bert, he'll give you the information. I hope to be in another country.
Seems to be a popular thing. Do you take a computer with when you go out of the country?
I can't guarantee the bandwidth though,
Oh.
because the bandwidth sometimes is lacking. If I can't stream a Blackhawks game, I certainly can't do a Zoom meeting.
I have a client going to Egypt next month, and I thought it was probably a bad idea for him to take his computer with him. Phone, yes. Computer, no.
Well, I have to see whether or not I can get my PDA net ported back to this computer, or I'll just use Wi-Fi when I'm there. But when I was on a ship, we did a cruise. I was limited to the number of devices I could use that connect up to Wi-Fi. You'd have to turn one off to turn another one on. So what I ended up doing was putting my phone in airplane mode, using the Wi-Fi on the phone connected with a USB cable into the laptop, and the laptop used PDA net to communicate. And I was able to get all my emails into Outlook, and not the Outlook that runs on the stupid phone, because they still haven't fixed the search on the Outlook on the phone. A, it doesn't go back far enough, and B, it always thinks in conversation mode. And I don't use conversation mode. So it doesn't pull up all the messages that I'm searching for. It only picks up the first one of the quote conversation and doesn't scan the other messages that were in the conversation that I'm not viewing. Yes.
Do you ever worry that the security people are going to confiscate your, I mean, I've heard people, they go through these checkpoints and stuff's taken and they never get it back or whatever, I mean.
Not that I've ever run into, but then maybe I don't fit the profile of that. When they look at an old retired guy,
maybe
they
just
don't
certain
usually
countries,
think
I guess.
he's transporting state secrets across lines.
Maybe it
I
just.
mean, I've heard about things like that, but I've never seen anyone that has experienced it or know anyone firsthand that has ever done that.
Wow.
I do.
You
All
do.
right.
What happened?
It was in Africa, and one of the guys put his camera with his only film card still in the camera in his suitcase. which was stolen out of his suitcase.
Yeah.
He was saved by me being me. I backed up his card to one of my external hard drives. So I actually had all his pictures for him. But they had taken it out. In Africa, that's a problem. They go through suitcases.
No,
As a matter of fact, the security person at the airport said, "Why were you dumb enough to put it in your suitcase?"
yeah, I take the cameras and the laptop in my computer bag and carry that with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not only that, you don't leave the phone card in there, you carry that separately, because your memories are the important thing there.
Smart.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
Terry, checking
take
with
our-
Terry if he received my text, my chat with that link.
I will
Terry
send
Moy,
you, I'll send you the entire chat.
did Terry Moy receive my text? Is he still
well,
there?
I've said it before, if you click the three dots at the bottom of chat, you can save the chat for later for yourself.
I don't know if Terry received your text.
Did he? Okay. Can you?
But
He doesn't hear very well.
before I forget it, I'm sorry for your loss.
Oh, well, that was actually my daughter's cat,
Okay.
but we had him here for a while too. He was a nice cat. He was very friendly. Something about cats when they turn 17, they don't seem to last that long after that.
My Tabby made it to 18, but yeah, I know.
My daughter's cat Claude lasted until he was, I think, 20 or 21. Although I think he was blind for the last couple of years. That he had to go around the edge of the room to find anything.
I know my daughter and I are hay fever, and we're, that dander or whatever. And we just can't be around cats, it's too bad. But
I probably can't either, but I put up with it.
well, even with dogs, there's a little bit of that dander too. So
Yeah.
I have this
I
problem
I
called,
can tolerate the dogs a little longer, but
I have this problem with tree
eventually,
pollen, but I'm not cutting down the trees yet.
yeah, I know. Well, I know. And eventually my eyes watered. I started sneezing.
Yeah, yeah. One of my ex-brother-in-laws had they had six cats, and they hosted Thanksgiving, and I would pop analgesics before going in, and I still couldn't last more than a half hour. And cats,
Yeah,
love me. They want to walk all over me and come up to me.
I can do about 10 minutes, and then I'm out of there. Yeah.
My brother Bob had adopted a stray who was which then had kittens, and his nickname on the train when he would go back and forth to work was Bobby 10 Cats. Yes, he had to deal with all of them. And two dogs.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's way too many. That's like about six. No, that's about 8 more than I'm allowed to have in my municipality.
I don't know that Schaumburg has a limit. We have a limit of dogs to 4. I don't know if we ever can.
We are allowed 4, any combination of. Fortunately, they don't limit ant colonies, but I keep them outside.
Hey, I had one of those ant things where you had the 2 panes of, actually not glass, more plastic, with the ants in the middle. You had your own ant farm.
Did they ever escape?
Of course. Of course. Well, I had a habit trail that gerbils got out.
We get mice. I don't know. You guys get mice at all in your house or garage or whatever?
Last season, about 60.
What?
I would catch and release. I would catch them in live traps, take them outside. My favorite experience, however, was I had one in a trap. I was talking to my wife on the phone, drove down to the corner here in the cul-de-sac, had the cage, opened the door, had the cage, opened up the door to let this thing go. The mouse jumped out. I shut the door. Before the mouse could make it across the grass, a red-tailed hawk came straight down and nailed it. Right next to my car. Just, whoa. And flew off with it just as fast. Yes, that was worth the price of admission. Yes.
Yeah.
Basically, you do catch and release, the hawk doesn't.
That's correct. Well, I'm feeding the hawks too. I'm not sure if he looks for me every time I take a trap out there, but I keep looking around to see if there's one in the neighborhood. Like, hey, I got one here. I'm going to put him in the middle, give him a fighting chance.
But the eyesight they must have, I mean, they're up at the top of trees, you know, they can spot the mice and come down, you know, I mean.
This one was flying.
Their eyesight must be
It was
terrific.
flying. They can see at altitude things like mice.
Wow.
I mean, we have a lot of raptors in my neck of the woods. We have owls. I have had great horned owls that have sat in the tree there next to me. I've had
Coyotes?
oh yeah, we have coyotes. I've seen a bobcat going across Route 14, just east side of Fox River Grove.
Wow.
Coyotes, deer. There's probably about 4 or 5 deer that probably are walking through my backyard as we speak. About this time of night, they come through. I've had fawns in the backyard. We have golden eagles, bald eagles occasionally. Cooper's hawk. I had a Cooper's hawk take out one of the mourning doves off of my feeder a couple weeks ago. Got a video of him having himself a feast. Yes. Those are big birds too. You think Cooper's hawk, oh, that's a small hawk. It's 18 inches high. That's a big hawk. He was able to carry off the mourning dove when he flew away. And the mourning dove isn't exactly lightweight either. And you're thinking, you're like, how are these animals able to carry things like that? They're not actually heavy animals themselves. Do you know how much a bald eagle weighs?
Oh.
Like 7 pounds.
Male will be 7 to 10 pounds. A female can be 8 to 15.
Wow.
But that's all, 15 pounds. But I mean, some bald eagles, if they catch, when they put their talons into a prey, they don't withdraw. And if they sink their talons into too large of a salmon and they can't pull up, they will drown.
Wow.
Yeah.
Roma gets upset. The rabbits eat all her flower bulbs, and she gets. They think her flower bulbs are chocolate or whatever.
It's not rabbits.
No,
it's not rabbits.
What do you think it is, Ed?
I know 2 things that will do it: squirrels, and any of the burrowing mammals that can eat the bulbs.
Moles.
Plant daffodils. They're poisonous to them. They won't eat them.
Well, that's what she does. Yeah, and she puts the tulip bulbs in among the daffodils to try and keep them away. Yeah.
Yeah, but the ones that are being dug up, rabbits don't dig up bulbs to eat. They'll eat leaves. I know I got a couple of ones that are almost pets that come up to me outside. They like carrots.
So it's the squirrels. Okay.
Squirrels too. The squirrels are always digging up and planting nuts and everything. So a bulb to them isn't anything more than a nut, and they have a very good acute sense of smell. So they know where you put this thing, and they can dig right there and grab it.
Wow.
Yeah, but most of the time you have like voles or those kinds of and moles that will go after bulbs. If you don't find them dug up from the top and they're gone underneath, then it was probably a mole.
Well, we had trouble with the mice. We had some bird feeders, and the birds would spill those seeds on the ground, and boy, does that bring out the mice, huh?
I didn't have
birds seed on the ground. Huh?
When I would go out to put seed in the feeder, and I would call the chipmunks over, and I got the chipmunks to the point where I'd have them go into my hand to get seeds or whatever. But I would sometimes I would see one of these, it looked like like either a mole, it looked like, or a shrew, and I would hear this little thing squeaking at my feet and see him come out, grab a seed, and then run back in. Small thing though, not as big as a mouse. It was smaller than a mouse.
They're a vole. Would it be?
Yeah, could have been one of them. Let's see if I got that one.
Yeah, the moles like to seem to hide under sidewalks, you know, it seems to be their place to hang out or whatever.
And you all. I don't have them on here, unfortunately. They're only on my phone, and yeah, I can't get them from here. Yeah. This is one. Now, if I could figure a way to get all of my albums off of my phone onto my computer, then I would be doing something.
It's in your music folder.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, boy.
Oh.
They like to be scratched behind the back of their head, and they like by
Wow.
their tail.
Wow. That's great.
Doesn't take much. Takes patience. That's all it takes. And then I got the point where the rabbits would come up, and I got one that would take a carrot out of my hand.
Wow.
Yeah, the squirrels are pretty easy. They'll do anything for peanuts. They'll work for peanuts. Yes.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I will. I'll put a peanut out. I'll open the door and I'll hand a peanut out, and they'll take one. The chipmunks will do that too. Chipmunks are pretty easy to. They'll come up and they'll jump up on the wood. I have a couple of stacked pieces of pine log, and they'll jump up on top and they'll take the peanut out of my hand.
Wow.
I figure it's easier to make friends with them than to try and chase them away.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, the best one I have though, it's on another phone. It's when in 2009, I think we were in the Sydney Botanic Gardens, and we saw the cockatoos there, and you put your arm out and they will sometimes fly up to your arm. And I had a heavy jacket on. I was a little concerned with their claws. They have some pretty good sized claws, but they have this huge beak. I was afraid, well, do they find fingers, tasty or not? But we were wandering around trying to find, we saw the Rainbow Lorikeets. They're sort of like a Pioneus parrot, except that they have a barbed tongue, and they're sugar eaters. They eat the nectar out of flowers. And I saw a couple of them at the zoo the day before raiding sugar packets at the zoo on the coffee tables. So I thought, So I was at Starbucks and I had a couple of tubes of the sugar from Starbucks, and I positioned them into my hand, and I saw a couple. I've had one Pioneus that flew over, landed on my shoulder for a second, and then flew off into a tree. I thought, okay, I got one close. So I went over to the two of them and I started dumping the sugar into my hand, and the Pioneus, not the Pioneus, the lorikeets flew down into my hand and ate the sugar out of my hand.
Oh.
Yes. That's the best one. Two birds in the hand at the same time.
Well, you probably notice the deer will jump fences too. Yeah, they're you know,
The
they-
deer
you know,
are
they'll jump
almost,
a fence going to a yard and then they'll go back out to the fence too. you
if
know.
they can see through it, they will jump over it. If they can't see through it, they will not attempt to jump over it.
Oh, wow.
That's the thing. I had deer on the other side of the wall over here on my front porch eating the euonymus off the side of the house. And I drove my van into the garage, went and we had deer chow at that time, which is molasses coated corn. And I got some deer chow and I came out and I showed them, I said, deer chow, come and get it, you know, and they followed me around the side of the house to the backyard and I poured some out and they rushed up and got it.
Wow.
Yeah, and you can actually, I've had one that was in the backyard there and tried to make, like, if you've ever heard a deer call, they go, eh, eh. If you use those on a deer, sometimes they will come back instead of running away. They'll say, who's calling me over there? I did that once, you know, the elk in Elk Grove? At the enclosure over there in Elk Grove Village. We would frequently go over there for lunch and take a couple of Subway sandwiches with us. And when we were working over there, and we were out there, and there's a big bull sitting there on the other side of the fence. And I looking at him, I said, I wonder if the deer call works on him. And he went, eh, eh, eh. He put his head down and charged the fence and bounced off of the fence.
Oh.
Now, if I could have had that on a video and put it on TikTok,
Yeah. Wow.
I'd be a TikTok millionaire.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I got some more messages here, so I will
Well,
save.
of course, you had the bison named Tyson, who's in the news right now.
They haven't caught him yet, though.
No, they haven't, but they're going to start fining the owner $500 a day.
He can't catch him, though. I mean, that's almost in my neck of the woods. He's been up in Hawthorne Woods, just north of here.
Yeah.
I guess he was on a farm in either Tower Lakes or Wakanda, or in between those two, and he's been roaming around the area.
He weighs about 1,300 pounds, evidently, not a little guy.
No, he's not little, and I wouldn't piss him off either. You put a rope on him, you're going with.
Yeah.
Well, the owner says he doesn't want to tranquilize because it'll cause the heart rate to race and it could kill him.
Yeah, it could. Well, either that or, you know, Buffalo Bill is going to take him out and then harvest the hide. I would half expect to see something like that, but. All right. Okay, I don't have anything else. Does anybody else have anything good for the cause? Okay, well.
Have
I
a
will
safe
see
trip.
you-
Ed, have a safe trip
Thank
next
you.
month.
Yeah.
I hope to see you guys in 2 months. If there's no meeting next week or next month, I will send out an email to advise people of that, unless somebody has an alternate program they want to run. And see you in a couple months. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ed.
Thanks for everything, Ed.
Yeah. Thanks,
Okay,
Ed.
thanks a lot,
Bye-bye.
Ed.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.